The church fell silent as Eliza Montgomery rose from her wheelchair. Gasps echoed through the cathedral as she took one shaky step toward Marcus, her soon-to-be husband. The man who had reluctantly agreed to marry her just 3 months ago now stood frozen at the altar, his eyes wide with disbelief. "There's something I need to tell you," she said, her voice carrying through the stunned silence. "If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional and inspiring content that will touch your heart." 3 months earlier. Marcus Reid wiped the sweat from his brow as he finished his shift at the construction site. His phone buzzed with a text from his neighbor who was watching his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. "She's running a fever again. Doctor called. Needs to see her tomorrow." His heart sank. Another medical bill he couldn't afford. Since losing his wife to cancer 2 years ago, Marcus had been drowning in debt. The medical treatments that failed to save Sarah had left him financially ruined, and now Lily's chronic kidney condition required expensive medication and regular hospital visits. As he drove his beat-up truck home, Marcus tried to calculate how he could possibly afford another doctor's appointment. His insurance barely covered anything, and he was already working double shifts whenever possible. The weight of responsibility crushed down on his shoulders. Lily was everything to him, his whole world, and the thought of failing her was unbearable. When he arrived home, he found Lily curled up on the couch, her face flushed with fever. She tried to smile when she saw him, but he could see the pain in her eyes. "Hey, princess," he said, kneeling beside her and brushing her dark hair from her forehead. "How are you feeling?" "I'm okay, Daddy," she whispered, but her small body shivered despite the blanket wrapped around her. That night, after Lily had finally fallen asleep, Marcus sat at the kitchen table surrounded by bills marked "Final Notice" and "Overdue." He buried his face in his hands, allowing himself a moment of weakness that he never showed in front of his daughter. The next morning, after dropping Lily at school with medication to get her through the day, Marcus headed to the bank to beg for an extension on his mortgage payment. As he waited in line, a sleek black car pulled up outside, and a woman in a wheelchair was assisted into the bank by a well-dressed man who appeared to be her assistant. Marcus didn't pay much attention until he overheard the bank manager practically falling over himself to greet her. "Ms. Montgomery. What an unexpected pleasure. Please, come right this way." The name registered immediately. Eliza Montgomery, the reclusive tech billionaire who had revolutionized medical software systems. Her company, Montgomery Health Systems, was worth billions, but she rarely made public appearances. Rumors about her disability and private life filled tabloids, but she maintained an air of mystery. As Marcus watched her being wheeled past, their eyes met briefly. Hers were a striking blue, intelligent and penetrating. He quickly looked away, embarrassed to be caught staring. When his turn finally came, the bank manager was unsympathetic. "Mr. Reid, this is your 3rd extension request this year. I'm afraid we can't accommodate you any longer. You have 30 days to bring your account current, or we'll have to begin foreclosure proceedings." Marcus left the bank feeling hollow. 30 days. He had 30 days to come up with money he didn't have, or he and Lily would lose their home. That evening, as he helped Lily with her homework, his phone rang with an unknown number. "Is this Marcus Reid?" a crisp, professional voice asked. "Yes, who's this?" "My name is James Whitaker, personal assistant to Eliza Montgomery. Ms. Montgomery would like to meet with you tomorrow at her office. Would 10 a.m. be convenient?" Marcus was stunned. "I think there's been a mistake. I don't know Ms. Montgomery." "There's no mistake, Mr. Reid. Ms. Montgomery specifically asked for you. She mentioned you were at First National Bank this morning." Confused but desperate enough to be curious, Marcus arranged for his neighbor to watch Lily after school and agreed to the meeting. The Montgomery Health Systems headquarters was an imposing glass tower in the heart of downtown. Marcus felt out of place in his worn jeans and work boots as he was escorted to the top floor by the same assistant he'd seen at the bank. Eliza Montgomery's office offered a panoramic view of the city. She sat behind a modern desk, her wheelchair barely visible. Up close, she was younger than he expected, perhaps in her mid-30s, with chestnut hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. Despite her obvious wealth, she wore a simple blouse and tailored pants. "Mr. Reid," she said, her voice clear and confident. "Thank you for coming. Please, sit down." Marcus perched uncomfortably on the edge of a chair that probably cost more than his monthly salary. "I'm not sure why I'm here, Ms. Montgomery." She studied him for a moment. "I overheard your conversation at the bank yesterday. You're about to lose your home." His face flushed with embarrassment and a flicker of anger. "I don't need charity." "I'm not offering charity," she replied coolly. "I'm offering a business proposition." She wheeled herself around the desk, coming closer to him. "I need a husband, Mr. Reid." Marcus stared at her, certain he had misheard. "Excuse me? My grandfather left a complicated will. He was old-fashioned and worried I would never find someone who loved me for myself rather than my money. He stipulated that if I'm not married by my 35th birthday, control of the company goes to my cousin Richard." Her expression hardened. "Richard would dismantle everything I've built. My birthday is in 3 months." Marcus shook his head in disbelief. "And you want to marry me? A complete stranger?" "I want a business arrangement," she clarified. "A marriage in name only, for 1 year. After that, we divorce amicably, and you walk away with $5 million. The amount made Marcus's head spin. It would pay off all his debts, cover Lily's medical treatments, and secure their future. "Why me?" he asked suspiciously. "You're clearly in desperate financial straits but seem to be a decent man. I saw how gently you spoke to the teller even when receiving bad news. And I had you thoroughly investigated overnight." She slid a folder across the desk. "Single father, widower, no criminal record, hard worker. You need money, and I need a husband who won't try to take over my company." Marcus opened the folder to find details of his life laid out in clinical precision. It was invasive and unsettling. "This is crazy," he said, standing up. "I can't just marry someone I don't know." "Can't you?" she asked quietly. "For your daughter's sake?" The mention of Lily stopped him cold. Eliza continued, "My assistant noted the prescription you picked up yesterday. Immunosuppressants. Expensive ones. Your daughter has kidney problems, doesn't she?" Marcus felt exposed and vulnerable. "That's none of your business." "It could be my business to help her," Eliza said. "My company has access to experimental treatments not yet available to the public. As my husband, you and your daughter would have access to the best medical care in the world." Marcus sat back down, his resolve weakening. "This is insane." "It's practical," Eliza countered. 1 year of your life in exchange for your daughter's health and your financial security. We would need to live together to maintain appearances, but I have a large house with separate wings. Your privacy would be respected. And after a year? You take your money and go back to your life. I keep control of my company. We both get what we need." Marcus left the office with a business card and instructions to call within 3 days if he accepted. He spent those days in turmoil, alternating between outrage at the proposition and desperate consideration of its benefits. On the 3rd night, Lily had a severe reaction to her medication. The emergency room visit resulted in another bill he couldn't pay and a specialist referral he couldn't afford. With shaking hands, he called the number on the card. 2 weeks later, Marcus and Lily moved into Eliza Montgomery's mansion on the outskirts of the city. The house was more like a modern castle, with sweeping grounds and a staff of discreet employees. Lily was given a beautiful room filled with books and toys, while Marcus had a suite in the opposite wing from Eliza's. "Remember," Eliza told him as they settled in, "this is a business arrangement. We need to appear as a legitimate couple in public, but privately, we lead separate lives." Marcus nodded, still uncomfortable with the deception but determined to do whatever necessary for Lily's sake. The first month was awkward. Eliza worked long hours, often not returning until after Lily was asleep. When she was home, she was polite but distant, retreating to her private rooms or home office. Marcus learned from the staff that she had been in a wheelchair for 5 years following a car accident that had damaged her spine. They whispered that doctors had told her she might walk again with intensive therapy, but she had thrown herself into work instead, apparently accepting her condition as permanent. Lily, however, was thriving. The specialist Eliza had arranged had started her on a new treatment protocol that was already showing promising results. Her color improved, her energy returned, and for the first time in years, Marcus heard her laugh without restraint as she played in the mansion's expansive gardens. One evening, as Marcus sat on the terrace watching Lily chase fireflies on the lawn, Eliza wheeled herself out to join him. "She looks better," Eliza observed, watching Lily with an unreadable expression. "The new medication is working wonders," Marcus admitted. "I can't thank you enough for that." Eliza waved away his gratitude. "It's part of our arrangement." They sat in silence for a while before Marcus gathered the courage to ask, "Why didn't you just find someone in your social circle for this marriage? Surely there are plenty of men who would jump at the chance." Eliza's hands tightened on the arms of her wheelchair. "Men in my circle want my money or my company. They see the wheelchair and either feel pity or see an opportunity to take advantage." She turned to look at him directly. "You needed something specific from me, money for your daughter. It's transactional and honest." As the weeks passed, their awkward coexistence gradually shifted. Marcus noticed Eliza working late into the night and began leaving a cup of tea outside her office door. Eliza observed Marcus's dedication to Lily and arranged for a tutor to help with her schoolwork. Small gestures of consideration that neither acknowledged directly. The staff began to whisper about the changes in their employer. Ms. Montgomery was leaving her office earlier. She was asking about dinner plans. She was smiling more. 6 weeks into their arrangement, Eliza's assistant James reminded them of an important charity gala they needed to attend as their first public appearance as a couple. The event would be covered by press, and it was crucial they appeared genuinely involved. "We need a convincing story of how we met and fell in love," Eliza explained as they prepared. "Something that explains the whirlwind romance." They crafted a narrative. They had met when Marcus was working construction on a building adjacent to her office. They'd struck up a conversation when she'd come to inspect the site, and their connection had been immediate and profound. The night of the gala, Marcus waited nervously at the bottom of the grand staircase, uncomfortable in the tuxedo Eliza had arranged for him. When she appeared, being wheeled down the special ramp installed alongside the stairs, he was struck by her transformation. Her chestnut hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders, and she wore an elegant blue gown that matched her eyes. For the first time, he saw beyond the businesswoman to the woman herself. "You look beautiful," he said, the words escaping before he could censor them. A faint blush colored her cheeks. "Thank you. You clean up rather well yourself." At the gala, they played their parts perfectly. Marcus kept his hand on Eliza's shoulder as they navigated the crowd. She introduced him as, "my husband," with a warmth that seemed genuine. When asked about their whirlwind romance, they exchanged glances and told their fabricated story with such conviction that even Marcus almost believed it. Later that evening, as they danced, Marcus guiding Eliza's wheelchair in a slow circle on the dance floor while she held his hand, a photographer captured the moment. The photo would appear in the society pages the next day with the caption, "Tech Billionaire Finds Love, the Montgomery Reid Romance." On the drive home, Eliza was quiet, staring out the window of the limousine. "You were very convincing tonight," she finally said. "Thank you." "So were you," Marcus replied. "I almost forgot it wasn't real." Their eyes met in the dim light of the car, and something unspoken passed between them before Eliza looked away. The next morning, Marcus found Eliza in the garden, watching Lily play with the golden retriever that had been a welcome home gift from Eliza. "She's a remarkable child," Eliza said as he sat beside her. "She has your resilience. And her mother's kindness," Marcus added softly. It was the first time he had mentioned Sarah to Eliza. "Tell me about her," Eliza said, surprising him. "Your wife." Marcus hesitated, then found himself sharing memories of Sarah, her laugh, her passion for teaching, her courage during her illness. Eliza listened without interruption, her eyes compassionate. "She would be proud of how you've raised Lily," Eliza said when he finished. "What about you?" Marcus asked. "You know everything about me, but I know very little about you." Eliza's expression closed off slightly. "There's not much to tell. I built my company, had an accident, and now I'm here." "That's the corporate biography," Marcus pressed gently. "I'm asking about you." Perhaps it was the genuine interest in his voice, but Eliza began to speak. She told him about growing up as the only granddaughter of a demanding patriarch, about her passion for developing medical technology after watching her mother die from a misdiagnosis, about the car accident that had left her dependent on others when she had always prided herself on her independence. "The doctors said with intensive physical therapy, I might walk again," she admitted. "But I couldn't bear the thought of trying and failing, of giving myself hope only to have it crushed. So I focused on what I could control, my company." "It's never too late to try," Marcus suggested. Eliza changed the subject, but the conversation marked a turning point. The walls between them had begun to crumble. As their second month together progressed, they fell into a comfortable routine. Eliza started coming home for dinner, joining Marcus and Lily at the table. Lily, with a child's intuition, had taken to Eliza immediately, asking her questions about her wheelchair and her work with the same innocent curiosity. One evening, after Lily had gone to bed, Marcus found Eliza in her home office, staring at a physical therapy brochure. "I've been thinking about what you said," she admitted when she noticed him. "About it never being too late." "What's stopping you?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe. "Fear," she answered honestly. "Fear of hoping again." The next day, Marcus came home to find a physical therapist leaving the house. Eliza didn't mention it, and he didn't ask, but he noticed her grimace of pain as she wheeled herself to dinner and realized she had begun the difficult journey of rehabilitation. Without discussing it, Marcus began to help. He would appear with ice packs after her therapy sessions or suggest evening swims in the indoor pool to ease her muscle pain. Eliza accepted his help without comment, but her eyes conveyed her gratitude. As the wedding date approached, a small ceremony planned to satisfy the terms of the will, Marcus realized with growing unease that his feelings for Eliza had become complicated. What had begun as a business arrangement had evolved into something he couldn't quite define. He admired her determination, her brilliant mind, and the vulnerability she kept hidden from the world. One night, 2 weeks before the wedding, Marcus found Eliza in the garden, attempting to stand from her wheelchair while holding onto a stone bench. Her legs trembled with the effort, and just as she began to fall, Marcus rushed forward to catch her. She collapsed against his chest, her breathing ragged. "I thought I could do it alone," she whispered. "You don't have to," he replied, still holding her. "That's what I'm here for." Their eyes met, and for a moment, Marcus thought he might kiss her. The realization shocked him, and he carefully helped her back into her wheelchair, his heart racing. "Marcus," Eliza said as he turned to leave. "Thank you. Not just for this, but for everything." The night before their wedding, Marcus couldn't sleep. He wandered the gardens, trying to sort through his conflicted emotions. This marriage was supposed to be temporary, a means to an end for both of them. But somewhere along the way, it had become something else, at least for him. He found Eliza sitting by the fountain, her wheelchair parked beside her as she sat on the stone edge. She was practicing her balance, her hands gripping the stone, determination etched on her face. Shouldn't you be resting before the big day? He asked softly, not wanting to startle her. She looked up, a small smile playing on her lips. I could ask you the same thing. Marcus sat beside her, careful to leave space between them. I've been thinking about tomorrow. Having second thoughts? Her voice was light, but he detected a hint of vulnerability. No, he said honestly. But I'm confused about what happens after. Eliza turned to face him, her blue eyes searching his. We stick to the plan. 1 year, then you take the money and start fresh with Lily. And if I don't want to stick to the plan? The words escaped before he could stop them. Eliza's breath caught. What are you saying, Marcus? He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated by his inability to articulate his feelings. I don't know. I just know that when I think about walking away in a year, it doesn't feel right anymore. This was always meant to be temporary, she reminded him, her voice gentle. A business arrangement. Is that all it is to you now? He asked. Eliza looked away, her fingers tracing patterns on the stone. It would be easier if it was. They sat in silence, the weight of unspoken feelings hanging between them. Finally, Eliza spoke again. I can't offer you what a normal relationship would be. I'm broken, Marcus. No, he said firmly, taking her hand. You're healing. There's a difference. She squeezed his hand, then released it. We should get some sleep. Tomorrow is an important day, regardless of what comes after. As Marcus watched her maneuver back into her wheelchair, refusing his help with stubborn independence, he realized that whatever he felt for Eliza Montgomery, it had long since transcended their original agreement. The wedding day dawned bright and clear. The ceremony was small, held in the garden of Eliza's estate with only a few witnesses, James, Lily, and the minimum required legal observers. Despite the intimate setting, everything was meticulously arranged. White roses adorned the small arch where they would exchange vows, and a string quartet played softly in the background. Marcus stood at the altar, watching as Lily walked down the aisle scattering rose petals, her face beaming with excitement. She had taken to calling Eliza, Liza, and had thrived under her attention these past months. Then Eliza appeared, wheeled down the aisle by James. Her dress was simple but elegant, ivory silk that flowed around her wheelchair. Her hair was adorned with small white flowers, and her eyes never left Marcus's as she approached. The ceremony began, the words washing over Marcus as he held Eliza's hands in his. When it came time for their vows, they had agreed to keep them traditional and brief. But as Marcus recited the familiar promises, he infused them with genuine emotion that surprised even himself. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Marcus leaned down to kiss Eliza gently on the lips, their first kiss, meant to be perfunctory but lingering just a moment longer than necessary. The small reception that followed was elegant but restrained. Lily danced with Marcus, standing on his shoes as he guided her around the floor. Later, he pushed Eliza's wheelchair in a slow dance, just as they had at the gala. To anyone watching, they appeared to be a family united by love rather than circumstance. As the evening wound down, Eliza excused herself, explaining she needed to prepare for the board meeting the following day where she would present her marriage certificate and secure her control of the company. Marcus put Lily to bed, reading her favorite story and kissing her forehead as she drifted off to sleep. I like being a family, Lily murmured sleepily. You, me, and Liza. Her words stayed with him as he made his way to his suite, which was now connected to Eliza's by a shared sitting room, an arrangement made for appearance's sake. He was surprised to see light spilling from beneath Eliza's door and even more surprised when he heard a crash followed by a cry of pain. Without thinking, he rushed into her room to find Eliza on the floor beside her bed, her wheelchair overturned nearby. Eliza. He hurried to her side. Are you hurt? Just my pride, she grimaced, attempting to push herself up. I was trying to, it doesn't matter. Let me help you, he said, reaching for her. No. The word came out sharper than she intended. Softening her tone, she added, "Please, Marcus. I need to do this myself." He stepped back, understanding her need for independence but staying close enough to catch her if necessary. With visible effort, Eliza pulled herself up to sit on the edge of the bed, her breathing labored. "What were you trying to do?" he asked gently. She looked away, a flush coloring her cheeks. "I wanted to stand. For you. Just once, not in my chair." The admission touched him deeply. "Eliza, you don't need to." "I do," she interrupted. "I've been working with the therapist every day. I can stand now, for short periods. I wanted to surprise you." Marcus knelt before her, taking her hands in his. "You amaze me every day, chair or no chair." Their eyes met, and the pretense they had maintained for months dissolved. Marcus leaned forward, and this time when their lips met, there was no audience to perform for, no business arrangement to fulfill, just two people acknowledging what had grown between them. When they parted, Eliza's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "This wasn't supposed to happen," she whispered. "I know," Marcus replied. "But I'm glad it did." That night, they talked until dawn, about their fears, their hopes, the unexpected feelings that had developed despite their best efforts to keep their arrangement professional. They agreed to take things slowly, to see if what they felt could withstand the pressures of reality once the novelty wore off. The next morning, Eliza attended her board meeting, presenting her marriage certificate with confidence. Her cousin Richard's face contorted with rage as he realized his plan to take control had been thwarted. The board voted unanimously to confirm Eliza's continued leadership, and she returned home triumphant. Over the following weeks, their relationship deepened. They still maintained separate bedrooms, but they spent their evenings together, sometimes talking, sometimes working side by side in comfortable silence. Marcus continued his construction job, refusing Eliza's offer to support him financially. His pride demanded he contribute in his own way, though he accepted her help with Lily's medical expenses without hesitation. Eliza's physical therapy progressed steadily. She could now stand for several minutes at a time and take a few steps with support. Each small victory was celebrated by all three of them, with Lily making, "well done," cards decorated with glitter and stickers. 3 months after their wedding, they were invited to a charity gala hosted by the hospital where Lily received her treatments. It would be their first major public appearance since the wedding, and Eliza had been working especially hard in her therapy sessions leading up to it. The night of the gala, Marcus waited at the bottom of the stairs as he had before. When Eliza appeared, she was in her wheelchair as usual, but there was a determined glint in her eye that made his heart race with anticipation. The gala was held in the hospital's grand atrium, transformed for the evening with twinkling lights and elegant decorations. As major donors, Marcus and Eliza were seated at the head table. Throughout dinner, Eliza seemed distracted, checking her watch frequently. "Is everything okay?" Marcus whispered. "Perfect," she replied with a mysterious smile. "Just perfect timing." When it was time for the speeches, the hospital director called Eliza to the stage to say a few words as the evening's honored guest. Marcus watched with pride as James wheeled her to the podium that had been adjusted to accommodate her wheelchair. Eliza began her speech, talking about the importance of medical research and accessibility. Then, halfway through, she paused. "Many of you know that I've been in this wheelchair for 5 years following an accident," she said, her voice strong and clear. "What you don't know is that I recently began physical therapy again, inspired by someone who taught me that it's never too late to try." She looked directly at Marcus, her eyes filled with emotion. "My husband showed me that sometimes the things we fear most are the very things that can set us free." Then, to the astonishment of everyone in the room, Eliza gripped the sides of the podium and slowly, painfully, rose to her feet. The room fell silent as she stood there, trembling slightly but upright. Marcus felt tears spring to his eyes as he witnessed her courage, her determination to overcome not just her physical limitations but the fear that had kept her confined for so long. Today, she continued, her voice wavering slightly with the effort of standing, I want to announce that Montgomery Health Systems is establishing a new rehabilitation center for spinal injuries, with a special focus on children and young adults. No one should have to choose between hope and despair. The applause was thunderous as Eliza carefully lowered herself back into her wheelchair. When she returned to the table, Marcus took her hand and pressed it to his lips, too moved for words. Later that night, as they drove home, Eliza leaned against his shoulder in the back of the limousine. Why didn't you tell me you were planning that? He asked. I wasn't sure I could do it, she admitted. I didn't want to disappoint you if I failed. You could never disappoint me, he said, kissing the top of her head. When they arrived home, Marcus carried her from the car despite her protests that she could manage with the wheelchair. In the privacy of the foyer, he set her down gently but kept his arms around her. I love you, Eliza Montgomery Reid, he said, the words he had been holding back for weeks finally finding voice. This may have started as a business arrangement, but it's become the most important thing in my life. Eliza's eyes widened, then softened with emotion. I love you too, she whispered. I think I have for a while now. 6 months into their marriage, they renewed their vows in a ceremony that reflected the genuine love that had grown between them. This time, Eliza walked down the aisle on Marcus's arm, taking slow but steady steps. Lily served as their flower girl once again, her health fully restored thanks to the experimental treatment Eliza had secured for her. As they exchanged rings for the second time, Marcus looked into Eliza's eyes and saw not the cold businesswoman who had proposed a marriage of convenience, but the warm, determined woman he had come to love with all his heart. When I met you, he said in his vows, I thought I was making a sacrifice for my daughter's future. I never imagined I was actually finding my own happiness. Eliza, standing without support for the first time in public, replied with tears in her eyes, You taught me that true strength isn't about standing on your own, but about having the courage to lean on someone else when you need to. 1 year after their original wedding date, the day their contract was supposed to end, Marcus presented Eliza with an envelope over a candlelit dinner after Lily had gone to bed. What's this? She asked, opening it curiously. Inside was the original contract they had signed, now torn in half. I don't want your money, Marcus said simply. I just want you, for as long as you'll have me. Eliza's eyes filled with tears as she reached across the table to take his hand. How does forever sound? Their story, which began as a desperate arrangement between a struggling single father and a disabled billionaire, transformed into a testament to the healing power of love. Eliza continued to make progress in her mobility, though she still used the wheelchair for longer distances. Marcus eventually left construction to help manage the charitable foundation they established together, providing medical care for children whose families couldn't afford it. And Lily? She grew up surrounded by love, with a father who had taught her about sacrifice and a stepmother who had shown her that limitations exist only in the mind. Years later, she would follow in Eliza's footsteps, combining her father's compassion with her stepmother's business acumen to expand their foundation's work around the world. Sometimes, the most beautiful love stories begin in the most unexpected ways. For Marcus and Eliza, what started as a business transaction became the greatest blessing of their lives, proving that when we open our hearts to possibility, even the most pragmatic arrangements can blossom into profound love. The church that had fallen silent when Eliza rose from her wheelchair on their wedding day now witnessed the truth, that sometimes, the things we think will break us are actually the very things that make us whole. As the years passed, Marcus and Eliza's love only deepened. Their 10th anniversary found them sitting on the same garden bench where they had shared their doubts the night before their wedding. Now, Eliza could walk with just a cane, and their family had grown to include a son they had adopted 5 years earlier, a boy with special needs whom they had met through their foundation work. Did you ever imagine we'd end up here? Eliza asked, leaning her head against Marcus's shoulder as they watched Lily, now 18, playing basketball with her little brother on the court they'd built on the property. Never, Marcus admitted with a smile. I thought I was getting a business deal. Instead, I got a miracle." Eliza squeezed his hand. "We both did." Their foundation had grown to become one of the largest private healthcare initiatives in the country, providing cutting-edge treatments to children regardless of their families' financial situations. The rehabilitation center Eliza had announced at that fateful gala was now a world-renowned facility, with branches in 3 countries. Marcus had discovered a talent for public speaking, becoming the foundation's most effective advocate while Eliza continued to innovate on the technology side. Together, they were a formidable team, respected throughout the industry not just for their business acumen but for their genuine compassion. Lily had grown into a remarkable young woman, preparing to start medical school in the fall with dreams of becoming a pediatric nephrologist, inspired by her own experience as a patient. She had her father's resilience and her stepmother's determination, a combination that made both parents immensely proud. "Mom! Dad! Watch this," called their son, Tommy, as he attempted a basketball trick Lily had taught him. Despite his physical challenges, he approached life with boundless enthusiasm, never seeing limitations where others might. "Just like his mother," Marcus whispered, and Eliza playfully nudged him with her elbow. That evening, as they prepared for the small anniversary celebration they had planned with close friends and family, Marcus found Eliza in their bedroom, looking at old photographs. "Remember this?" she asked, holding up the newspaper clipping from their first public appearance at the charity gala, before they were married. The caption still read, "Tech Billionaire Finds Love, the Montgomery Reid Romance." "They got it wrong," Marcus said, sitting beside her. "It should have said, Tech Billionaire and Construction Worker Find Love Against All Odds." Eliza laughed, the sound still making his heart skip even after all these years. "Too long for a headline." "Our whole story is too long for a headline," he replied, kissing her softly. "And we're still writing it." As they joined their guests downstairs, surrounded by the people who had witnessed their journey from reluctant business partners to devoted spouses, Marcus caught Eliza's eye across the room and felt the same rush of gratitude that had become a constant in his life. Their marriage, which had begun as a forced arrangement born of desperation and necessity, had transformed into the most authentic relationship either of them had ever known. They had each been broken in their own way, Marcus by grief and financial hardship, Eliza by physical limitations and fear. But together, they had found wholeness. And as they cut their anniversary cake, with Lily and Tommy cheering and their friends applauding, Marcus and Eliza exchanged a look that said what words could never fully express, that sometimes life's greatest blessings come disguised as impossible choices, and that love, when given room to grow, can heal even the deepest wounds. Their story would continue to inspire others through the work of their foundation and through the example they set, a testament to the fact that true connection can be found in the most unexpected circumstances, and that what begins as necessity can blossom into something far more beautiful than either could have imagined. As the evening wound down and their guests departed, Marcus and Eliza stood together on the terrace, her hand resting lightly on his arm for balance as they gazed at the stars. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For saying yes to my crazy proposal all those years ago. For taking a chance on a business arrangement that made no sense." Marcus turned to face her, cupping her cheek gently in his palm. "Best business decision I ever made." And as they shared a kiss beneath the night sky, both knew with absolute certainty that what had started as a forced marriage had become the most genuine love story either could have imagined, proof that sometimes, the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings. The end.